Welcome back to the Everything Property Podcast. Now, another value-packed episode for us today. A quick reminder, and probably off the back of today's topic, if you are looking to buy an investment property yourself, if you need one consolidated source of truth, if you need a professional team with experience across over 35,000 property transactions, our property investment course has got great feedback so far with the first cohort of members. Funnily enough, some of the people that are in there have also used buyer's agents for the first one or two purchases, but they've realized that they've come all this way. One, they've spent so much money, and two, they're none the wiser on the whole process. So since releasing a couple of months ago, we have had our first students getting through the course and then making confident, informed offers. I don't doubt that in a few months' time, we're going to be interviewing a few of these members on how exactly they did it and how they feel having done it themselves and acquired a skill set, which then allows them to rinse and repeat for the next one and the next one and the next one. Now, if you want to be part of this community, if you want to be part of like-minded investors, no alternative motives, no upsells, nothing else, fulfill your property investing portfolio ambitions, I will leave a link in the bio of this episode. Also, if I can ask anything of you listening to this podcast, watching on YouTube, I've got a little camera set up as well, is to take 5 seconds to leave us a 5-star review if you can, and subscribe on YouTube and or turn on downloads on Spotify or Apple Music so you can get a fresh episode to your listening platform every single week. No dramas or hassle. Now, this pod does cost me each week to produce, and I'm honestly having fun doing it. That's why I've been doing it for over 2 years and 100 plus episodes. So all I need from you is a 5-star review and to hit that downloads, guys. And that gives me the energy to keep going, to keep pumping out episodes and to take this thing to the moon. We're approaching 200 5-star reviews. I know there's more than 200 people out there that listen to the podcast. So if you are listening and you haven't yet, please, I'll be forever grateful, and it will be the fuel that I need to keep on going. We also have another national tour planned for the podcast, and it is going to be absolutely hectic. I can't wait for you guys to check that one out. But look, today's episode, I actually wanted to talk about a subject or, one lesson within the first module in the course that I cover. And it's about the red flags and what you really need to know about buyer's agents and the industry. The deeper that I've gotten into this industry, from talking to people every single week, more stories I hear, the things that I see and observe, quite frankly, the more I'm just absolutely fucking appalled by the lack of governance for this industry dealing with such incredibly large purchases and investments. We're not buying piggy banks here and $2 goods. We're literally dealing with the biggest asset most people listening to this podcast will ever deal with. I still can't believe to this day as well, one, the amount of people who are so easy to part with their cash, and two, the amount of people who, with no sort of real moral compass when it comes to these things, and will blatantly do dodgy shit to make some cash quick. I've said it before and I'll say it again on this channel, that I don't have an issue with buyer's agents. I do have an issue with the ones that are coming through to this industry, lack of training, experience, education in property, and then charging astronomical fees for people to pay them at something they're not really qualified or know how to do properly. Many are jumping ships from careers that they've spent decades building, years of university, all for the promise of 15, 20, 25 grand a pop per client to try to even do this thing part-time. It is an absolute joke. Now, if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking about using a buyer's agent, or if you know anyone that potentially is, please send it to them. The more people that listen to this episode and know what's actually happening and what to look out for, the better. Again, I'll be upfront and honest with people. I know that we've got a property investment course. Whether you use our course or a buyer's agent, I do not care. But please do me the favor of listening to this to hopefully save yourself time, effort, and heartbreak that I hear every single day. It's incredible. There's not only a heap of property spruikers disguised as buyer's agents, but there's also a ton of buyer's agents that I think are offloading shit stock products, and that will leave you, the audience, to the property purchaser with the mess to deal with. I mean, another thing, a classic example, running this podcast, I have these guys inbox me and reach out daily wanting to be on the podcast. Now, I don't blame them. We have a large audience. You'd get heaps of clients from you, but the fact that you've listened to none of my content, and I can tell because you'd know through these sorts of podcast episodes what my positioning is on that. But if you've been in as a buyer's agent for 6 or 12 months, like, one, how can you charge someone that much money for something that you're not even experienced in? 2, 6 or 12 months ago, you weren't even in property. You're working in a totally different field. Not that to say that that's an issue, but it is, for me, a lot of people, it's this Dunning-Kruger effect where they might have bought 1 or 2 properties at the start of COVID. They've seen 20, 30, 50, 80% of growth, and they're getting really confident thinking, oh, this is really easy. I can go and do it for everyone. When at the end of the day, that's not the reality of how the market works. The market just doesn't, you throw a dart in a dartboard and you get 30, 50, 80% growth like we did in COVID. You've actually got to work for it. And although we're going to have some interest rates cuts, which will help with pricing, if we have a correction or, in a couple of different pockets where we are going to have corrections, I think that's when you'll have to actually work for it. And I think these buyers agents that are out there thinking that it's really easy and they can throw a dart at a dartboard, or they can do any of the red flags that you'll hear about today, they're going to be in for a rude shock. And my goal with this podcast has always been to be transparent, to have a 100% north-faced arrow in terms of moral compass, to always do the right thing and always to tell the truth. Now, I might not be the most popular person out there, especially amongst buyers agents or amongst the property industry, but at least I can go down saying and hold my hat to saying I've always been upfront and honest with people and always tell people the truth, which is something I put on higher value than making friends and being friends with everyone. Now, the first thing I want to talk about today is, and I guess it's not a red flag, but it's something to watch out for, and that is that bigger isn't always better, at least when it comes to buyers agencies. Now, what do I mean by that? Some people come out and say, oh, look, they've won the awards. I see their ad heaps. Hate to break it to you, but if you're listening to this and judging what buyer's agent you're going to based on that, you're going to be in for a bad time. Why? Most industry awards are self-nominated and can be bought. What do I mean by that? Do your DD and look at the business that is running the awards. Look who they are affiliated, associated with, and do other work with. And then you might be able to make some connections to the people that are nominated. Now, another thing as well is just because you've seen them do ads doesn't mean they're good at all. Anyone can pay and do ads and throw out mass marketing. If anything, that just adds to their overhead and how much money that they're spending that's going out of the business, which means that they need to get money in as quickly as possible, meaning they need a quick little churn and burn of clients to be able to pay for these sorts of bills. So it's not always a good thing. Now, a trend I'm also seeing in the market recently from talking to a lot of people is that the bigger buyers agencies, they're starting to do this churn and burn method. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, the larger the office, the more people that are in the office, you've got all these sorts of overheads. If a buyer's agency has, let's say they're dealing with 70 clients a month and they go into a particular suburb that has 50 listings come to market. Now, out of the 50 listings, and I say this all the time, but out of the 50 listings, you might have 10% that qualify through the due diligence process to be a suitable investment. Now, I don't particularly think that buyer's agent is going to wait around for as long as possible to be able to match their client with the best outcome. And the reason I say this is because the bigger they are, the more overheads, the more get them in the door, get them out. The issue with this is that they're compromising at the area which matters most, and that is the quality of the investment that they are buying for their clients. If you go into one of these big buyers agencies, I mean, not many people know this, but the way the buyer's agency model works in Australia is once you get your license, which is a couple of day course, you only need to work you can either work for a real estate agency for a minimum of 1 year, or there's people that you can go out there and kind of rent their license and start virtually straight away with no experience. That's great for a buyer's agent to get out there and get to market, but it is fucking dangerous because you're going to be dealing with someone that has little to no experience, that's maybe came in the market a year ago or has less property experience than, even you listening to podcasts for the last few years. Like, I bought my first investment property in 2014, and you're coming on saying that you want to chat to our audience and offer them value because you've been in the market 6 to 8 months as a buyer's agent. Come on, let's be honest here. So what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is that the big buyers agencies, they're obviously because they've got the money to spend on ads and all that kind of useless shit, lead generators, they need bums in seats to process with that ASAP. Because if they don't, then people don't get back to them, and they get all the bad reviews, all that kind of stuff. The issue with that particular model is the people that the buyers agencies bring in. Once they work for a year, those people go, I can keep working for this buyer's agent, and maybe I get a clip of each ticket or each client that I deal with, a few $1,000s, or I can go and start my own thing and charge 15 to 20 grand. So what you'll see is most of them go out and then start their own gigs. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. They've got a little bit of experience processing like that and stuff. They go out and start their own gigs. But that big buyer's agency is then, we need to fill bums on seats. So a lot of the people that they ended up bringing in are young, inexperienced, unqualified, and you're still paying top dollar. It's not because you're dealing with that one person that's at the head of the company or the face of the company. They've brought you in, they've sold you the dream, but then you're dealing with people that are 20, you might be dealing with a 24-year-old that doesn't even have an investment property, that's in charge of searching for a property for you, your biggest ever purchase. Does that make sense in your head to be purchasing that money? There is no way that head of the business is going to be across every single deal. They're delegators, they've got teams, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's kind of offloading the responsibility, and that's where shit gets missed. And I'll give you a perfect example. On this podcast, I no longer recommend any buyer's agents, really. There's a couple of guys that I think are good. I'll give you an example. A good friend came to me and wanted a recommendation on a buyer's agent. I made the recommendation. I said, these guys are good. They're awarded, blah, blah, blah. They were meant to be the number one top dogs. Anyway, I checked in with her and I said, and she probably listens to this podcast, so shout out. She'll know who she is. I won't name her, but that particular, I said, what was the experience like? Because, obviously I haven't used them, but, I know a lot of people, I know how they work, blah, blah, blah. She goes, it was an absolute disaster. I dealt with 7 different people at the company. I was so confused about who to talk to and everything like that. She said there was issues on the building and pest inspection report that the buyer's agency was meant to have covered before she settled on the property. Of course, they missed it. She had to settle on the property, couldn't get it rented out because the issues hadn't been fixed. And the owner of the firm, the owner of the agency, had to jump in and pay with their own money out of pocket to fix this issue because it just had been missed. Why? Because they're big, they've got too many people, too many things going on, and they just missed it. They were just worried about her getting in and out as quickly as possible, and that's it, quickly as possible, and not about the detail. Now, because of that, she's had a terrible experience, which came back and it obviously makes me look like an idiot. So that's why I can't refer to sort of them or a lot of buyer's agents, because shit like that happens. Now, I would always say, like, you're almost better off doing it yourself if that's the kind of input you're going to get from the best in the industry for the top dollar. Doesn't really make sense to me. Now, another thing that you'll notice as well, I do have a little video set up for this episode. It's not great. I'm going to optimize my video setup and space. So please, guys, give me a bit of time to do that. But on our YouTube, there's actually no ads. I didn't tell many people, but I switched off the ads on our YouTube. And the reason is because a lot of these buyers agencies, or the guys that sort of position themselves as property advisors or wealth professionals, buyers agents, the spruikers are the ones that are buying that ad space. So the people that are going on, to me, is like, well, the people that go onto YouTube to watch our content are being, I guess, sort of infected by these creatures of these spruiker creatures. And to me, it didn't make sense. I'll be honest, YouTube pays not a lot of money anyway for the size of our audience and the ads that we have. So I thought, look, I'm going to turn ads off so that our audience isn't interrupted with these type of people. But if you're watching on YouTube, then congratulations, and that's why you don't see ads. So today I want to go through as well. That's sort of one massive red flag in terms of bigger is not always better. But I'm also going to run through a lot of the other red flags. I think there's about 14 other red flags, and the issue and the reason is as well, I didn't get anything out of this episode apart from telling the truth. And if you know anyone, I please urge you, if you know anyone about to buy property, send this to them so they don't make the same mistake, and then you can thank me later. So first and foremost, anyone that's selling a house and land package or an off-the-plan apartment. Now, full disclosure, I've worked for developers, I've worked in development, and part of that job as a development manager has been organising the sale of the developments that we're designing, building, all that kind of stuff. Now, what I found really funny with this is, in the way it sort of works for total transparency for everyone out there, is that if I've got an apartment block coming online, let's just say it's 200 apartments. Now, I'll either have, depending on the size of the developer, they'll either have an internal sales team or they'll partner with a local sales team. So if it's in sort of, any particular area, they might partner with a project sales or anyone in that area that specializes in apartment sales. They'll also have what's called channel agents. Now, channel agents are other agencies, these wealth advisors, these buyers agents that, have all these scammy ads with boom locations, but that claim they're there to buy property investments for you, but actually they're just there to sell off the plan shit. These guys come in at channel agents, and what that means is they get access to the stock too. And because they get access to the stock, they get anywhere between 3 to 6% commission on selling these apartments. Now, normal resi sales agent might get 2%. So you can see that it's sometimes triple the amount of a typical resi sales agent will get to be able to sell these things. So not only will these sort of wealth creation, these bullshit companies get a kickback from the developer, 6%, 5-6%. So if it's $750,000 apartment, they're getting 5%. They're making 35 grand off you there, and then they're charging the client a buyer's agent fee. So if anyone is sending you trying to sell you a house and land package or an off the plan apartment, it's a red flag, because that is not going to be the best option for you, regardless of mainly anything. And you'll see as I go down this list the other things that they try to use to sell that with. The next thing I'll probably touch on was I talked about it on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn and you want to reach out and find me on there so we can chat, happy to do that. But I've spoken about it on LinkedIn this week. I had a member that came across the course. I was sitting on a call with him. We spoke about it, and he said, look, Dave, to be honest, I've already sat down with a few buyers agents. I haven't trusted them, but there's one guy that we spoke to that seemed really good. He was really transparent. I said, okay, well, why haven't you went with him? Oh, look, he was transparent, and he showed me the two suburbs that they were buying in. I said, okay, sounds transparent, sounds good, right? The buyers agents went and said, look, this is what we're buying. This is the market that we're buying in. I said, okay, well, talk to me about, have you signed up for it with the buyer's agent? No. Okay, so it's an initial call. Yep. What's the length of the call? 20, 30 minutes. Okay. What do you talk about? Oh, look, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Did they take the time to understand your investing goals, your current income, current status, risk appetite, timeline, all that kind of stuff? Did they put that into a plan? No. Okay. So how can they then recommend you a suburb? Because let's take the time to talk through that. We talked through it, what we found, over an hour I spoke with this gentleman. What we found was that for his particular circumstance, he had the money saved for his first investment, but then he would require the equity out of the property to be able to invest in that second property. So, okay, well, why? Because I can tell you right now where those two markets that he has offered you, where they sit, what the growth is like. And you're not going to see anything for 12 to 18 months in those pockets, maybe even longer. So if your time frame is 6 months or sooner, you're in for a bad time, because you're just going to buy and you're going to have to be stuck waiting there. And he goes, I didn't realize that. And the penny dropped for him. So I said, so how can he recommend the location first? He wants to be transparent. The reason why the buyer's agents do this, and I'll share it with you because I got nothing to lose from it. The reason they say we're buying in those markets, because it makes it easier. They know the agents, they've done the calls, maybe they've done a few deals for other people. Yeah, come in, we're buying in this, we're buying in this particular location. They don't come in, we're buying in this location. Okay, but how does that make sense? Because how can you automatically go into a location when you have taken nothing into my personal circumstances? It tells me that they're lazy. They want to buy in a suburb. They already know that they don't want to spend the time and effort to go into another suburb, because it is work. You need to call agents. You need a network to get the off markets, all that kind of stuff. So that's another red flag, is that people are trying to sell you anything or any area without even listening to what you have done, where you have done it. Now, the next one is going to be the rental guarantee. So how this works is the house or apartment might yield 5%. Now, if it yields 5%, they'll put a rental at $500 a week. They'll put a rental guarantee and they'll put it on for $700 a week. They'll add $200 a week to it. All they've done is they've put $200 a week, times it by 52 weeks for the first 12 months. They've added 10 grand onto the sales price. No such thing as a rental guarantee. You've paid for it in the sales price. And if the area is so good and it's got all this good data and it's such a good investment, you should not have to have a rental guarantee, because the rent should be increasing. The data should be there. Another red flag, and people to avoid at absolutely all costs, is going to be anyone that has a secret tax hack code from the ATO doesn't want you to know. Ladies and gentlemen, the ATO is bigger and smarter than all of us. That's why you see them auditing people that are mums and dads and all that kind of stuff. There is no secret hack. What the secret hack is to get your details, to sign you up for a pre-recorded webinar, to sell you on some bullshit and then try to close you as a client. That's one that I've seen in YouTube ads all the time, and it does my head in that people would do that. Same goes for anyone trying to sell you on boom locations. Boom locations are bullshit. We know how we feel on this podcast about hotspots and all that kind of shit. It is absolute crap. Now, anyone selling you on secret hacks or boom locations, just know that is probably a property spooker who is getting paid to sell you on some bullshit areas, and please avoid at all costs. The next one, anyone marketing an investment opportunity that is far out of area and different states. Again, if anyone is advertising stuff in a random Queensland regional location in Sydney, you got to think, if it's such a good area to live in, why aren't the locals living there? Why aren't the people up in Queensland living there? It tells me that you're probably trying to bring it out of area, so I don't do my research, or I don't really find out about that area. I don't go up there and visit and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be, a poor investment in a new housing estate that has no infrastructure, that has nothing there built yet. That will take decades to see growth. And it might see growth and people may do good with it, but you have no data to back that up. That is working on a whim. So it could happen, it could not happen. You don't know. The next is anyone that is spruiking to you depreciation benefits. As you know, depreciation, you would not invest to lose 30% plus. Anyone that is spruiking depreciation benefits means that they have a brand new product. Now, don't get me wrong. A brand new apartment or a brand new house and land package will have the most depreciation. It will, because it's brand new. But it doesn't mean it is the best for growth. Depreciations just helps with cash flow, and I say it all the time till I'm blue in the face. But think of depreciation as a good to have, not a must have. It's a nice little cherry on the top, but I wouldn't buy purely on depreciation. I'd buy on everything else, and if depreciation's there, cool, that's a tick. If not, Don't worry about it. The next people to avoid at all costs that you need to know is anyone that can't show you clearly how they get paid. Now, some buyer's agents will be clearly and upfront with this. Others will be like, oh, look, we partner with blah, blah, blah. That probably leads into the next red flag too, and these are interchangeable. But people will be like, oh, look, you don't have to pay us anything. We work with builders to get you the best off-market deals. If they work with a builder, it means they work for the builder. The builder sends them a stock list of things that they don't want. They can't sell. The builder can't sell. Builder goes, hey, property marketer, this is what I want you to sell for me to whoever you can find that is dumb enough to buy it. You are then buying that. The builder gives the client, builder would give that marketer 50, 60, 70 grand, which is why they don't need to charge you, because they're making overs from the builder. Now, another thing I think you guys should look out for is anyone that gives advice on things they aren't qualified in. Now, what I mean by that is you go to a mortgage broker for mortgage broking advice. You go to a buyer's agent for buyer's agent advice. You go to a conveyancer for conveyancing advice. Too many times I hear mortgage brokers recommending people property. So the mortgage brokers will partner with those builders, will partner with people, because they'll tack it all in one. They'll be like, oh, look, or a perfect, accountant's perfect example. Accountant will partner with the builder or off the plan or house and land. They'll say, look, yeah, definitely, here's some stock that we've got that, our other clients are purchasing. It's bullshit. The accountant is only recommending you that because, one, depreciation benefits. Oh, I wonder where I've heard that's a fucking red flag. Or they aren't qualified in that, or because of depreciation benefits. Again, absolute load of shit. Another red flag to watch out for is people giving away shit for absolutely free. I can't believe I'm saying this, but no one gives away a free course or a free ebook or anything other than to just get your details. Now, I'll be upfront and say this. Sometimes when we do a suburb report, we'll put in there, we need your name and details, somewhere to send it. But the people that do the free courses, it's a good chance that they have the bigger upsell. I see buyer's agents do a free course. Let me tell you this. Think about this logically, guys. Do you think a buyer's agent is going to give you a free course or a course for $200 that tells you everything you need to know so that you don't need to use them? Do you truly believe in your mind that someone is going to be dumb enough to put together absolutely everything to run their business so that you don't need to use their business? Do you actually think about that for a second, how dumb that sounds? If you're going and using these people or those free courses, they might have some golden nuggets in there. Of course, that's how they bring you in. It's got to have a bit of flavor on it, a bit of dust on it, a bit of magic on it. But there's a good chance that they're just trying to suck you into the marketing vortex to upsell you for the next thing. Next red flag people to look out for, especially with buyer's agents too, is the people that can do everything. The buyer's agent, that's also the accountant, that's also the mortgage broker. I think this is a red flag. Why? Because you got to think about businesses and the way I see it done all the time, but the way the buyer's agents work this is they go, profit, our overheads are growing, and if we put more people on, our margin decreases every year, but then we're starting to get more volume and more things. So they go, how else can we make money? Then they start the in-house mortgage broking, blah, blah, blah. They don't start that because they want to. They start that as a profit-making exercise to try to sting you on there. I hear all sorts of horror stories that people are getting charged double, or they're getting charged $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 fee to work with the in-house broker. It's just a money-making machine, guys. That's why you're there. They want to suck that money out of you at every step of the property cycle. I would personally rather go for an absolute specialist. You think of an Olympian goes to the Olympic Games. They don't go there for 10 sports. They go for one thing that they are the best in the world at. You want to go for, if you're using a buyer's agent, you want to go for a buyer's agent that does one thing and does it really, really well. What are they the best thing at? Rather than a buyer's agent that goes, oh yeah, I can help you with this, I can help you with this, I can help you with this. Because at the end of the day, too much time, effort, money, and resources is spread across all these different things. They don't give 100% to anything. If they've got 5 different branches of their business, they can only give 20% to each. Really, they can only allocate 20% of each. They can't allocate 100% to everything. So where are they compromising? There's going to be one thing in that chain that they're compromising on that you as the audience or you as the property purchaser that you are going to encounter. Another red flag as well is anything that's too good to be true. For example, NDIS, SDA property. I've done about $35 million in projects in the NDI and SDA space, and is not something that I would recommend for mum and dad investors. It's capital intensive. The supply and demand is totally different to just a normal resi house. The data is extremely small. The pool of participants is small. What I'm seeing at the moment is guaranteed returns 10, 15, 20%. Essentially, they'll just get a fee from the builder to build this property for you. And what will happen in 12 months' time or 18 months' time, because they take their long ass time, you'll be finished with something that's purposely built for people on the NDIS scheme or NDI scheme, NDIS, and you won't be able to find tenants. You'll be $2 million in debt and you'll have a vacancy for 6, 8, 12 months, and it'll absolutely eat through you. So please, with that stuff, if you need advice, if you need a second set of eyes, again, please send it to me. We've had someone like Lindsay Kelly on the podcast. You can reach out to Lindsay. You can reach out to me. Again, I have no vested interest on whether you do or don't, but I just want to make you notice what the issues are. And then look, the last one I covered on it. As well previously, but again, anyone that has that product without listening to your needs, that tries to say, yeah, come in, we've got the perfect solution for you, and does little to no qualifying around what you particularly need. I don't see how, investment time frame, money available, all these kinds of things, risk appetite, it's going to be different from person to person. So how can you go out there and say to me that, this product's going to be a one size fits all? It's a good chance that, that's all they've got and they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. So look out for that, guys. That would be my last and final one. There you have it. That's my list. Some things to keep an eye out for if you do use a buyer's agent. Look, and probably I think the last thing, another thing to watch out for is, off-market properties aren't the be-all and end-all. They're easier than you think to get access to once you become personable with an agent, once you build up a bit of morale. Buyers agents probably want people to think that, they're only off-markets are only exclusive to them. I bought my last development site that was off-market, deceased estate, through the agent. It is easy to build that rapport with the agent and check in with them and to show them you're a qualified buyer. I hate the rhetoric that buyers agents have where they say, look, it's off market, it's exclusive. That's not always the case. I think that's almost bullshit sales and marketing. The same with comparable sales. There's always one down the street that's sold for X, Y, Z, but you never end up seeing it. I just would look out for this stuff when people are sharing it online, guys, and be able to see through the bullshit. That's all from us, and hopefully in the next sort of month or the next couple of weeks, we have some of our members online showing you guys that you can do it yourself. You don't need to pay a buyer's agent, and let's be honest, they all learnt by doing a course, and I don't see how you can't as well. So that would be my top tips and what to look out for, guys. If you have any questions, as always, send me a message. Happy to help. Until next time, see you then.